Welcome. Excited to jump in here. This is the Ageless Energy Show, and I'm your host, Drew Taddia. For the past 20 years, we've been helping women increase energy, burn body fat, and balance hormones. So if that's you, you are in the right place. Today, I'm going to be talking about topical magnesium and the benefits and some of the detriments of avoiding magnesium, but more so the chemicals that we put on our body that then enter into our body. So I'm excited to dive in. You're more than welcome to ask questions live. I will do my best to answer them. And otherwise, you could be watching on a different platform, which is great. Wherever you are, could be live or replay. We're here for you. And hopefully you find some benefit out of learning more about topical magnesium. Diving right in, I think the first thing to help you understand maybe information that you have heard many times before, but our skin is our biggest organ. And it's always surprising to me what people put on their skin. And it's pretty clear when you go to hotels, for example, the junk that they have there that's free. It's like Costco, right? Most of the samples they give away there are junk. Not to say we don't ever enjoy some of them, but they're certainly not healthy. But you go to hotels and it's usually just cheap junk with additives, fillers, chemicals, aluminum, that kind of stuff you put on your body. Unfortunately, because it's free. And that'd be a good tip for you if you want to avoid that kind of stuff. Just because it's free initially, I wouldn't even call it free. It's just there. You're paying for it, right? You pay for your hotel room. You know what the thing? Try not to rain. The thing about hotels that bother me is that the check-in is around 3 and the checkout is 10. I feel like if you're renting a hotel room, you should get like a day. You should get from or 24 hours, but it's not like that. That's my opinion of when you because we stay in a lot of hotels and I always feel like we get cut short. So we might show up at noon or 1 and they're like, "Your room isn't ready." I'm like, "Well, get us a room that is ready." It used to be much easier to negotiate, and I don't know if there's too many people have caught on, but or they just changed their rules and regulations. But it's harder to get early check-ins, and it's hard to get late checkouts. We used to get checkouts for like sometimes 2 or 3, like late checkouts, and now they are pretty. What's the word? Stringent. When we are this is when you have to check out. And then sometimes they'll say, if you want to stay, I'll say, can we stay till 2 or 3? And they'll say, if you want, we can extend it till 1. That's okay because usually checkout is at between 10 and 11. And they'll say, if you want to stay past 1, you can, but we'll charge you for the extra day. No thanks. I don't want to be charged an extra day for 2 hours. At any rate, you're paying for the hotel, right? So you're not getting that stuff for free. And on top of that, it's not free for your health because I believe you're going to pay for that later. You're putting they have shampoos in the shower, they have body wash, they have lotion, and that kind of stuff it's detrimental to our health. You put that stuff on your skin and it enters your body. But it's very similar to perfumes, let's say. And I'm always surprised when I like walk by someone and they smell like a perfume store. And I get this like really odd aching in the back of my head when I walk down those like particular aisles or I walk by what is that one place called like a Bath Beauty and Beyond or something like that. Those like soap shops that are full of horrible toxic fragrances and scents. That stuff like really bothers me. And my nose has been sensitive since I was young, but at any rate, I think it's important to understand if you're putting that perfume on your body, that's a toxin, unless it's a natural, like essential oil type of thing. I'm a big essential oil fan, by the way. But you probably wouldn't be sitting here listening to this if you were someone that enjoys tons of perfume. So I'm preaching to the choir a bit. However, if someone in your life, if you're using perfume or a bunch of perfume, and then someone in your life is, or sorry, like I'm trying to what I'm trying to say is the kids in particular. So if you are a grandparent or a parent and you use a bunch of perfume because that's what you always did, your kids or grandkids are smelling that, and that's a toxin that they're inhaling, and that can cause all kinds of issues. Like those are hormone disruptors, those are endocrine disruptors. Those are also those also affect your lungs, which is important. And the problem there is that people don't really they don't believe that or they don't understand it, and then they're negatively affecting others. Like smoking's a tough one for me, and I know smoking's like a really difficult subject for people because they are addicted and they don't know what to do, and everyone like hates smokers, and it's unless you're a smoker in particular. But I just think there's a right place and time for that, like smoking in particular, like smoking outside of a door, smoking out like side of a park or there's kids. I just don't understand it. I don't think there's a whole lot of thought process there. And I'm not saying smokers are the villain because I know there's people that have tried really hard to get off smoking. It's just that like those scents and smells and creams and like all of that is affecting not just sometimes not just yourself but other people as well. Often they'll have signs now that say, "Oh, this is a scent-free zone." Morning, Patty. Morning, Tracy. They'll say that this is a scent-free zone, but then people aren't particularly, they don't follow that. And then there's no enforcement, which is, and I'm not one of the people that, I'm not like a person to complain or that's life. Like people are going to act the way they act, but I think that we take full accountability for our situation in life. This is the reason I'm in this situation in life. And without that ownership, you're not able to change that situation in life. So a lot of people remove accountability. That's not my fault. It's because of my parents, because of my teacher, because of our health history. It's nonsense. But in this world that we live in, there's such a small amount of accountability. It's not like people don't take full accountability for their situation in life, which means they're not able to transition from one phase to the next. If you took full ownership and said, okay, this is the reason that I'm in this situation in life, whether it's financial, whether it's a spousal relationship, whether it is with your kids, like those, like that, your life is formed by the decisions you've made or the lack of decisions that you make. Like you could do something, like you could make a choice that would make your life much easier, but there's a sacrifice. So you may have to pay for some type of help to make your life easier and more convenient in one way. You may have to sacrifice your time with your children. That's something I'm very conscious of. And I feel like we'd be in a much different place in business and in life if I was willing to sacrifice, like we have financial goals, for example, but I don't want to sacrifice my family and the time I have with my children growing up. This one story stuck with me. I'm not sure why it stuck with me, but it really hit home. This guy had a small team and they built this app and they sold it for millions and millions of dollars. And he said it took him a couple years, 2 or 3 years, to build the app, and they became very financially wealthy. And he said, money's always there. He said, my biggest regret is spending more time on that app to be financially wealthy so I'd have more time with my kids than actually spending more time with my kids. And that really, gosh, that really hits home. Like I think about that all the time. And it's a regular battle for me to be like, okay, this work has to get done. So for me, I think about efficiency. What are the most efficient things I can get done today so I can spend more time with my family? That's really helped me stay more disciplined and more focused. But you all need that North Star. You need that why. What are you getting up to get your workouts in for? Like, why are you meal prepping when no one else is, or when the family is not necessarily supportive? What is it your driving force? And like for me, at least in this instance, that's my family. So your driving star could be your health. Like why are you using topical magnesium, for example? Why are you avoiding that junk that seems to be free at hotels or skipping past all the junk at Costco to get some free samples? What is the reason that you Simon Sinek, I think he really what's the word? He really highlighted that term, something about knowing your why. A super interesting book, but that you have, everyone has to find that driving force, or what, sometimes it could be your kids, it could be your grandchildren, it could be your own health that you're struggling with, but without that you're just kind of lost and confused and doing whatever and not really caring what anybody thinks and says. Like someone dosing themselves with 25 sprays of perfume. Have you ever hugged someone? And I don't mean to say this like there's a lot of very kind and generous and loving people that wear perfume. They just don't know any different. But I'm reaching out to you and helping you understand that. Hopefully that's something that you're not doing. But it's not necessarily perfume, right? Just use that. You could be using the shampoo that you're using could be toxic. Like the deodorant that you're using. So it's such an interesting concept, right? Like when I try to rationalize or maybe just envision the thought process behind antiperspirant. It was like if we put this, I believe it's aluminum. So if we put this metal in antiperspirant, people will stop sweating and then they'll buy our product more. That's probably the thought, something along the thought process. It's like deodorant, like across the board, hasn't been known to be like a health product. But I suppose a handful of years ago, it probably wasn't been known to be detrimental to your health either. So as a company, that probably wasn't trying to harm your health, even though they have. But you have aluminum and aluminum-like products in many health products, right? For a particular benefit. Probably not much different than medication, right? Like they are able to put this type of chemical that will help improve your health, right? Or help you give some type of effect. But along with it comes a negative effect. So you take another type of pill to help with that. And then, of course, we all know the story of you start with one and you have a half a dozen, and before you know it, it's the same thing with you're looking at your health issues from. I would imagine there's a lot of people that are dealing with health issues from something simple as deodorant. I really do. I believe that. I believe that there's a lot of people dealing with health issues from spraying Lysol all over the house and cleaning. Like that's what we used to do. A lot of people probably have health issues like lung issues from other cleaning supplies like Clorox bleach. I think Clorox is just a name brand. Bleach. I don't care what companies. But if you like smell a chemical and you're like, whoa, like you probably shouldn't be cleaning with that. But I feel like those choices have formed our future. And then you have people in 20 years that are like, oh, I'm healthy, I eat well, I'm active. But you're breathing these toxic fumes in for years, not thinking about it. It's the same thing with something like the topical lotions that I'm talking about or the deodorants. Like that company in particular was just trying to get a benefit to sell more product. That's business. So they said if we put this aluminum in the product, it's going to stop people from sweating. I don't even know if they would consider we're going to clog their sweat pores, which our body actually needs to naturally cool itself, so they don't have sweat marks and they buy more of our product. But we as the consumer, like we have to have more knowledge and more understanding of our health and then what's going on. Like, it seems like a pretty odd concept to me if I think about not sweating. Right? What if you're working out and you're like, I'm gonna grab this bar of deodorant and rub it on my forehead so I don't get sweat beads going down. It sounds funny, like sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what happened with our deodorant and armpits. At any rate, moving on. Looking at everything in your cabinet would be a strong suggestion for me. I would strongly suggest having a look at what's in your bathroom. By far, the bathroom is the most toxic area in your household. It could be under the sink in the kitchen, but I would lean more towards the average person with fluoride in toothpaste to what the different types of chemicals that are in your shampoo to the soap, like the actual bar of soap that you use in body wash that you think is cleaning your body, which is unfortunately is just putting more toxins in your body, is affecting your health in different ways. So that's why I would suggest the bathroom is probably the most toxic area in your household. So instead of getting all crazy, like some people are like, oh my gosh, just throw everything in the garbage can. I would suggest adding, go and get one better quality product. See, the thing is that if we usually have two sides of our brain. One is lack and one is abundance. It'd be similar to you could look at calcium and magnesium. So calcium is more absorbable than a magnesium. Not only that, but the calcium blocks the absorbability of other products and supplements. So if you have a calcium product, the body will not just absorb, but it will also block anything else from entering or absorbing, which is why a calcium magnesium pill is a bit ridiculous. All the company was trying to do is make it easier, or more convenient for you to be like, oh, my doctor said to have calcium, and I know everyone talks about having magnesium too. We put that in one pill. I'm getting magnesium and calcium in one shot, and I don't have to worry about anything else. Not true. When you see so many milligrams of magnesium on your bottle and you have that on along with the calcium, you take them at the same time or in the same pill, you're not getting the the absorbability or the amount of magnesium you think you are. That's why I feel, how much magnesium should I take daily? That's a really difficult question to answer. Probably not the right question to ask. And then on top of that, like along those same lines, is how much magnesium is in your, I get these questions a lot because we sell our liquid magnesium, Mag 10, for example, and they'll ask how much is in your per serving because they want to compare it to the next one on the shelf. But that question is, it's not a clear question, and you're not going to get an answer that's going to get you the answer that you want. We want just a clear answer of 200 milligrams. Great. This one's better because it has 400 milligrams. It's not how it works, because that one probably has additives, fillers, other toxic substances, sucralose, titanium dioxide. There's a laundry list of junk that comes in cheap forms of supplementation. And then, of course, if you're taking, obviously, what I just mentioned, if you're taking calcium with it, you're probably not getting any of the absorbability. So it just doesn't match up. Those aren't questions. And I love questions. Questions are all fine. I'm just trying to help you understand the thought process behind that question in particular, because it comes across all the time when people are trying to compare their, which is great. You should be like, have an idea of the name brand, have a look at the ingredients, have a look at the amount per dose or percentage. It should all be clearly listed, but it's a pretty difficult place to be in if you're not sure what's happening behind the scenes. Like, for example, I'm going slightly off tangent. I'm going to come back here right away. Just let me finish this. If you look at MCT oil, for example, and I don't know, it's such an odd concept for me that it doesn't need to be listed. It either doesn't need to be listed or the company's not following proper protocol. But I went into a pharmacy one time and I like to look at like health food areas. The pharmacy is like the grocery store, right? The grocery store has one health food aisle where you can choose some more healthy-ish products. The pharmacy usually has one cleaner aisle where you can go and find some better supplementation. It's usually like an expired bag of protein, a few multivitamins. I digress. Let's carry on. I'm not a huge fan of pharmacies. I walked into a pharmacy one time, like not too long ago, and I looked at like the vitamin area, and it had this huge list of like maybe 500 different vitamin pills. And I was a bit overwhelmed. And this is what we do. And I was like, oh my gosh, how could the average person walk into a pharmacy place and be like, what are you going to do? You're going to spend 4 weeks trying to read all the ingredients, look at the quality, look for the one you want. How do you compare? What a nightmare. In that case, stay away from those places and you go to specialty. Like, you go to specialty shops where like they're ethical, probably hopefully locally, and then that like the name brand should stand for something, in my opinion, instead of some giant corporation that's just trying to sell as many products as possible without having any interest in the type of ingredients that they put in their products. So I was talking about MCT oil. Is that so? I went into this pharmacy and I looked at the MCT oil, and all it said was, it didn't tell you what percentages and it didn't tell you what carbons were in there. So it said something very generic like MCT oil. So in most cases, if you're looking at MCT oil, you should be able to turn it around and look at the back, and it should say so much percentage of. Usually there's a carbon 8, 10, and 12 in there. Often there's no 8, and there could be 10 and 12, but it should say the percentages on the back so you know exactly what you're getting. Ours is 100% C8 caprylic acid. You don't have to think about it. Ours is organic. It's pure. No cutters, additives, fillers. We don't do that. But if you look at many of these companies, they don't even list on the bottle. It was just like MCT oil, and then it had some mumbo jumbo on the back that wasn't very clear of what carbons were actually in there. It's garbage. Like, you should be able to tell by at least reading the bottle what's actually in a product, and that didn't have that in there. And I went to ask the pharmacist, and they had absolutely zero idea what MCT oil was, so they couldn't help out at all. So let's bring this back home in the last, maybe give me 5 minutes to wrap this up. Is that when you're paying, the things that you're putting on your body, should be in its most natural form possible and should be beneficial. Otherwise, it's detrimental. So, briefly, or just before I mentioned, we have two sides of our brain. Is we have a lack and then we have an abundance, and usually that lack wins out. Usually, with the choices that we make, we mostly make decisions based out of fear instead of abundance. You'll see, I think we all have people in our life that are always worst case scenario. What would you do if this could happen? Or have you looked into this because that could possibly happen? And at least for me, it's nice to have a bit of a devil's advocate. And I know exactly who those people are. So if I want their advice, I'll specifically ask them. But in most cases, I don't want their advice. I don't want worst case scenario. That's just not where my brain goes or what my mind goes. Of course, it's great to prepare, and it's good to maybe sometimes think about what could possibly happen or what might be the worst case scenario so you can prepare. But my mind has been trained to work towards abundance and positivity. And I want to say there's not room for both all the time. You have to have one that wins over most of the time, and then the other one is a small percentage. So I would suggest 66% positivity, 33%, maybe a little of that negative, deeper thought, more thinking. But the problem is that we overthink everything, right? We overthink simple decisions in our life, and we make the simplest decision the biggest thing in the world. Like, you could make one decision for your health today, and that would drastically improve your life. I can't tell you how many times women have come to us and thought about it for weeks and months, and then they see results in a couple weeks, and they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I just make a decision earlier? That's part of our job, is to help you understand, to help you make a decision. A lot of women have never made a decision for their health. Right. A lot of women have never signed up for a program. They've never fully invested in themselves. They've never actually committed to anything long term. It's usually like a 21-day fix or a weekend fast. So I understand it's difficult when you think about, oh, I'm going to make a significant investment for a duration of my life to actually improve the situation I'm in. A lot of women just aren't able to make that decision. So they put it off, they put it off, they put it off, and then they end up in the exact same position they've always been in. So no decision is also a decision, right? So when you're looking at the brain that you have, you can slowly transition it towards the direction that you want it to go. So those decisions become more natural. Like, decision making is a muscle, and it's a muscle that many people rarely exercise. And you see it all the time. I don't want to make a decision. I don't know how. Often people say, ask someone like where they want to go for dinner, what movie do they want to watch? I don't know. What do you want to do? I used to have a roommate in college that did that. Drove me crazy. Would never decide because he never wanted to be responsible for the outcome. So what movie do you want to go to? And I don't know. Well, when we were kids, right? What bar do you want to go to? I don't know. What beer do you want to drink? Whatever you decide. And like, that's someone that probably had someone making decisions for them for most of their life. So they've never exercised that decision. So you can improve your ability to make decisions by starting to make more decisions on a more regular basis. And I also believe the most successful people in the world aren't just good at making decisions, they're good at making decisions quickly. So if you have a whole team of people asking a bunch of questions, you don't have 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 years to answer them. You have that moment, and you have to answer quickly and efficiently and accurately. And that's how you become very successful, not just with your life, but with other people's as well. So, having that mind frame based around abundance instead of getting rid of everything in your bathroom is probably not my main suggestion. I would start adding one thing. So, I did mean to talk more about magnesium, in particular, magnesium spray. One slightly different. You never know what I'm going to talk about when I sit down here live. But when it comes to magnesium spray in particular, instead of adding, so you have your pain creams, for example. So instead of getting rid of all the junky pain creams that you probably have in your drawer that have been expired for months or years, you would get one bottle of magnesium spray, and then you put that on your counter. And what that does is start to train your brain into more abundance and more natural things. It's the same thing with your pantry. If you have a bunch of junk in your pantry, like most of us do, you get one quality product and you put it in your pantry. And your mind sees that all the time. So you have a better quality MCT oil in your pantry, and you start to train your brain to be like, oh, that's quality. So you go there more often. And then that might run out, so you restock it, and then you get another clean product. And you can slowly go through the other products that you have in your pantry. if that's what you choose. There's nothing wrong with that. And then it's the same thing when you're looking at your pain creams or your shampoos. We're talking about a lot of different things topically here, but you can slowly use them if need be. Some of them you can toss out, especially the ones that are expired. Like if you have a bunch of gels or a bunch of creams in your drawer that are expired, or if you know you're never going to use, just get rid of them. You can train your brain, you can train your vision to discard things in your life that you no longer have use for. They're no longer aligned with what you need. We hang on to things for, like, we have full basements, we have closets, we have garages full of stuff that we have never used or never plan on using, but we hang on to them. And that doesn't give our body, our mind, our vision the ability to get rid of more things in our life. So it's all a chain reaction. How we do one thing is how we do anything. You want to become better at making decisions, then start making decisions. If you want to start putting better quality creams on your body, then start using them and slowly get rid of the junk that you don't need. At any rate, didn't exactly go the direction I wanted to with the magnesium in particular, but I hope that was helpful. I hope you found some benefit out of that conversation. I'm going to let you go with that. If you have any questions, drop them below or shoot us a message. We're always around to help. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everyone.